another episode of Aussie Tech Security. I'm Glenn Goodman and I'll be joined in a moment by Roger Smith. We are brought to you by athwebhosting.com.au. Flash new webpage if you want to go check it out, and providing shared hosting services for everyone, especially if you're in Australia, because that's where the servers are, so they're nice and fast. And also brought to you by rniconsulting.com.au and Lunch and Learn with Roger, who we'll hear from in a second, which his next one will be March 8 from 12 o'clock Canberra time. So wacky do, put it in the diary, jump on in, he'll tell us, email Roger for the link, email Roger for the link if you're interested in Lunch and Learn, 12 o'clock every second Tuesday. Next month, March 8th. And in speaking of the man himself doing the webinars, let's say g'day to Roger. Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Good morning, Glenn.
How you been?
Good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Plugging along, you know how it is. It's pretty muggy up here in Queensland these days.
Yeah, I'm glad you're up there and I'm not.
Yeah. So you walk outside and, whew, yeah, it's just, it's warm.
Yeah.
All right. Now, email for you for a link. Where can we email you?
Just Roger at rogersmith.com.au.
All right. Good stuff. So,
Yeah, because it's easier.
So now Lunch and Learns are a hangout. So you email him for the link and you join the hangout. And
There's three ways. What we do is we do the webinar through a webinar piece of software, which is great, but it also literally links back to Google and it comes up as a hangout. And also we're throwing it on Periscope just to see how effective Periscope is as well.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, the two webinar, the Hangouts and the Periscope, no sign up, just log in and off you go. There's no capture of email addresses and all that sort of stuff. So.
Oh yeah, good stuff. Today, what are we going to talk about? We are going to talk about testing your defences, which is obviously as self-explanatory. But first, we're going to get a bit of a catch-up on what Apple and the FBI have been up to. You may have heard in the news and from listening to previous episodes that the FBI and Apple are at loggerheads about opening up the Apple phones and everything to get vital information to help convict people that are doing the wrong thing. Apple's denying they don't want a bar of it. FBI wants something. John McAfee's come out and said he'll bust it in 2 minutes and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's been pretty interesting. It'll be interesting to see if John McAfee could do anything with it, mainly because Apple really are hard to get into. And some of their encryption components and the lockout of the phones are relatively important to the whole security of the system, and that's one of the reasons why Apple is actually digging its heels in about the whole concept of build us an application or build us an operating system that we can break into, because it's Pandora's box. It really is. If that's available, someone will get hold of it.
Well, yes.
But the other side of it is. What Apple is afraid of, and this has already been proven by Apple itself, is they don't want to set a precedent where you have to have this done because law enforcement have pushed it on you. They've already found a precedent from a circuit judge in America who said that Apple is not responsible for getting into a phone, and it is not their responsibility to actually change the way they do business to suit law enforcement. So it'll be interesting to see what the next step of the FBI is, and we'll see how it all goes. But one of the things that Apple is putting there is literally digging their heels in is there's two reasons behind this. One is the security component of their product, which they are paranoid about. And the other one is the privacy of your information. And this is where they're really coming from, is if FBI have access to this backdoor updated operating system, then anybody else can actually find it, catch it, use it, and then have access to your information, which is what you don't want.
Yeah, all right. But I don't know, like... I'll leave that argument. I was going to say get into an argument, but...
Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, look, I don't know. Like, wouldn't it be beneficial to the greater good that the FBI is able to do stuff like this? I know that John McAfee, he wanted to. I think his way of getting into it was he said he could social engineer it and find the way in. I don't know if he could actually break the encryption, but he could find by doing various thoughts and questions or whatever, social engineering's way in. But I mean, like the government, if they want to know something, they can, like in any other section of the community, like say your tax or your whatever, like, you know, they force it upon us to have our tax file numbers tied to our bank accounts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't get full interest. You get 50%. They force it upon you to, you know, you have immunise your kids. Otherwise, you don't get paid. So why is it that they're shirking away, or, you know, they think that Apple can think they can get away from this? Everything else is done for the greater good. Why can't we get a back door? Why can't we have something?
Well, I think the greater good concept is a really good idea until the greater good is used against the greater good. And this is what people, what Apple is worried about is if they build this application or operating system that they've been asked to do by FBI. Now, if the FBI have got this in their system somewhere, then it becomes a prime target for the digital criminal, because if they can get hold of it, then anybody who's got an iPhone, and the moment they get hold of it, it's straight onto the dark web and everybody has access to it. So it really does become a primary target for the digital criminal. And because of that, where they store it, how they keep it, what they do with it, who has access to it, all of these become a really critical component of protecting your data. Because if the criminals get it, then there's no stopping anything. And that's why one of the reasons why they're really worried about it.
Well, I guess I can take that on board. I can appreciate that. But I don't know. Look, as I think I said last episode, I don't understand why there's just not something just real, you know, mano on mano, Tim Cook on whoever, FBI person in the room. Hey, Tim, we need to get access to the phone. Just give us what we want. Nothing. No one will say nothing. Top secret.
Yeah. I don't think that would ever happen, mate.
Right. Okay.
Because you know what bureaucracy is like. Law enforcement ever have that sort of problem. Yeah. It probably would have been interesting if the director of the FBI had sat down with Tim Cook and said, we need to do this and we need to keep it out of the papers. That would have been something that would have been interesting to see what happens at it.
Yeah, well, that's right. But anyway, that's what's happening. So they're headbutting. They got Tim Cook's found a precedent somewhere, so he's going for gold. All right, let's move on to testing your defences. Now, what does that mean? Well, obviously, in a security position, we're looking at, okay, you've got everything set up, you think you're fine, you've got your armour on.
Yep.
How do you test it? What's the first thing you should do? How do you go about testing if you are indeed secure?
Well, the best thing you can do for testing your defences is there's a number of things that you have to look at. One of them is if you're going to put security in place as a focus of a single person or a single team, then they are going to have idiosyncrasies about how they do things. Those idiosyncrasies over time become the precedences of what they do. Okay, and what happens is, we all know this and we've all seen this, is the digital criminal thinks outside the box. And if the guys are working inside the box, then what the digital criminal is going to do is going to look at how they can get in without compromising the systems that you've got in place. This is where penetration testing comes into its own, because they literally come down to, and depending on the level of penetration test, they come down to looking at how can I break into your system using what is available in the dark web. Now, and that uses we can do a port scan that'll tell me what ports are open. For instance, if I'm looking at a website that I want to hack, I can look at the ports that are open. I then realise that the port for SQL is open. So I can now take my attack to the next level because I know that port is open and that port is communicating. Right. I can then do cross-site scripting to go from one site to another. I can then look at what the SQL components are, what version it is, how updated it is, and then I can come up with compromised malware that is already targeted to those problems.
Because I was just thinking, like, people listening to you now might be thinking, well, you know, like I just got a small business. Why would anyone want to hack into me? But it's not just that. It's just like, as we've spoken about before, it's like script kiddies, people doing it for fun.
Yep.
Like when I was a kid, although I had an Apple IIc, we used to get binary readers or whatever they were called, and you just search through for the bit of the little copyright 1980 text, or whatever, and then we used to change it, to copyrighted by us, and we called ourselves a name.
Yep.
Used to change it and then hand the software around. So, we were gods. No, we weren't.
yeah, look at me, pray.
So, but I mean, so it couldn't be, it might not be something investor to give or, to bring you down as such financially, but it might just be script kiddies. But, so how does, another question that just pops into my mind now is these scripts that the kiddies do, they just go out to the net and they just search and search and search and search and search.
Yes.
How do they know, say, where to start and where to end? Does it start from A and go to Z? Or
sort of. What they find is they go out and buy or download an application. Let's say it's there's a number of them around. For instance, you can install Kali as a Linux distro. Yep. Now, Kali has got everything you could ever need to target Facebook, to target LinkedIn, to target email, to target SQL, to target websites. So that comes as a package. So all you're doing is learning the package. But on top of the Kali package is you get updates like we get updates for Microsoft.
Yes.
So Kali comes in and says, okay, we've got these following scripts that we've now come across because the community has created them. They go into the Kali repository. Next time you update your version of Kali, you get those. And they come up and say, well, this will be, this is an exploit for X, this is an exploit for Microsoft. If you combine this and this and this, you'll get into this. And that's that component of the, I suppose it's not really the dark web, it's the deep web, which is what drives the whole script kiddies and hacktivists in their endeavours to crack into people's systems.
So the Kali, I suppose, I'm just looking it up here now on the Google, and we've got
the Google
on the Google. Now, I would have thought that it's not so readily available, or it's not as official looking as it is. It's just Kali.org, KALI.org.
Yep.
So is it a Rigi distro, but also...
It's actually based on CentOS, I think. So it's a CentOS variation.
Right.
But literally everything that that you want to attack a target with is actually inbuilt into the distro.
Right, okay.
So all of the applications you need, all of the scripting components, they're all there. You can write anything, you can do your own writing on it. So in other words, if you're well-versed in C++ or Python or PHP, you can actually write your own scripts that are going to make it all work.
Right, so... Yeah, rightio. So
you're looking confused.
Yeah, no.
This is one of the problems with what people don't understand about the deep web and the dark web is you can get this information. All you have to do is know where to go. Now, if you've got a 14-year-old who's at school and someone else has already found this out, it goes around the school like wildfire. Yeah. So that 14-year-old now has access or understands that if he downloads Kali, he can use it. The next thing they work out is, I've got Kali, but I can't put it on Dad's laptop because he'd crucify me. So I need to increase to build a virtual environment that Kali is in. So then they go off and get Sunbox or VMware or something along those lines. They then build a VM, and you're then in a situation where you can use your Kali without people actually knowing that you're using it, and you can do whatever you like. Now, it's been proven that after about 6 to 8 months of using something like Kali, that a script kiddie can make money out of it. And this is the other thing that people don't realise is, okay, they've crapped a website that they've now infected. They can then sell that information back into the Kali system or into the deep web or into the dark web. And then it's then sold and they can make money out of that.
So yeah, okay. So Carly, so why is Carly allowed to exist then, like in the real world?
Freedom of speech and everything else that goes with it. The internet is free, and we've seen this even with the real life rigidage business environment. You may think that an application is a good application, and then you put it on the App Store and nobody buys it. That type of thing is happening all the time. It's just that things like Kali, Metasploit, some of the big stuff that comes out of the deep web is manually supported by the people who built it. Things like Metasploit, and there's a Russian hacking tool that costs you 4,000 euros, but that comes with support.
Right.
So if you can speak Russian, you can say I'm trying to target IBM.
Yeah.
I've got this far, but I can't seem to get any further. Have you got any ideas? And they will come back and say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this?
Fair income.
The reason why they do that is because if you've bought something out of them and you've installed it on your PC, that application that you have installed is actually talking back to them as well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, and that's one of the reasons why they're pushing these out to the script kiddies, because the script kiddies literally become the scouts.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I got my bit of bait that I put into IBM, for instance, has got a wriggle. Someone's actually taken the bait. That information goes back to whoever wrote the program, and then they can actually then look at it and go, shit, there's a very good opportunity that we can get into IBM and do X.
Yeah, right.
That's where it really comes from.
That's crazy, isn't it? Just the Kali Linux tagline, or their motto, whatever you want to call it. It's got here, the quieter you become, the more you are able to hear. There you go. So how do you make sure, or how do you test that you are free? Like, how do you test against all this stuff?
Well, the idea behind, like, for instance, we have a Kali system set up as well. We use it to target our clients. But the other thing about a penetration test is you're looking at every aspect of your business. So you're looking at not only the website, but you're looking at the mail. You're looking at how people communicate. You're looking at your Wi-Fi. You're looking at all of these little bits of information goes into a big pile, and then you go, okay, we've found an exploit in the Wi-Fi, for instance. Yes, they've got. Let's take a really basic example. They're using WEP encryption, all right?
Yes.
Which we can break within probably 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I got access to their Wi-Fi. Now, is their Wi-Fi on their network, or is it separate? If it's separate, then we then have another problem, because we can use the Wi-Fi to do other things, but we can't get to the network.
Yes.
But if the Wi-Fi is on the network, we've now got access to all of the computers on the network.
Yeah.
Okay, so by just cracking that one little thing, we've found a problem. And the report that comes out of us would be, you need to change your Wi-Fi, either update the encryption component to a decent thing that has either a guest or an internal thing, and spin it off and put it on a separate network. Okay, and that sort of stuff is what the whole idea behind a penetration test is all about. And for the other instance is, you can do social engineering, for instance, against the people in the office. You've got someone who uses Facebook a lot. How much information are they putting up there? Is there work-related information up there? And how secure is their profile? Okay, if you have a look at their profile and go, wow, they've put everything up here. They're telling you when they're at home or they're working and all this sort of stuff. It then becomes another component of what we need to educate people about.
So when you say that you've got your own version of the Kali and you test your clients' accounts or your clients' security and all that, like, what size businesses are these? Like, are these like your little obviously probably not your little fish and chip shop on the corner, but are they big enterprises, small enterprises?
Okay. From start to finish, we've got a client who is a one person with a secretary. Yeah. They did $34 million worth of turnover last year.
Right. Oh, I suppose.
Okay. For them, it's really important that they're protected.
Yes.
At the other end of the scale, we've got not-for-profits who are 30 or 40 people. But their attitude and their understanding of what the digital areas are doing is really minute, and it's our process of educating people and saying literally, because we are testing our own security, we will come up and go, this is why we need to change something, and we will give a specific explanation about why we need to go to the next level of a Wi-Fi or build a new router and because they are our clients, we can then go back and say, we know that you haven't got the money this year, let's put it in the budget for next year, because you need to do this to protect your clients.
Yes. So typically, I suppose, without getting like too specific, like how much to say would you pay someone to say, or how much would it cost for someone to install, like say like you, Kali Linux, like get your support guy or third party local guy to have them install the Kali Linux and see what you're doing, test your site. Is that like would you pay an hourly rate? Would you pay a fixed rate? What would
it's normally a fixed rate. We have a program that costs $5,000, and we do regular, unregular scans every week. So in other words, it's not every Monday at 3 o'clock, but it may be any time during that week. We will do a scan, we will do a test, we will do a full-blown attack profile once a month.
Yep.
And then on top of that, after each of those, you get a report saying these are things that need to be fixed.
Right.
And we're not only looking for, we're looking for a number of things. Things like, have we patched the system properly? Have we have all the patches been applied? We had a client that had 35 desktops, and they had 7 variations of the same antivirus. And even though the antivirus was saying everything was updated and everything was all covered and everything else, our system came back and told us exactly what was missing. And we could literally go back to, you need to put these updates on this computer, you need to put these updates for the antivirus on that, you need to do a lot of other things as well.
Wow.
And things
awesome.
like having the firewalls turned off. Because it was too difficult for the IT people to get the ports to work for what they wanted to do. And we came back and said, well, let's find out what the ports are. Let's open all these ports on the network, but let's put firewalls back in place.
Kali Linux, I'm going to have a look into that when I get
it's a lot of fun.
Oh, I'm sure it is. When I get
it's quite funny. Some of the guys that we've got working for us, one of the things that we said to one of them was, well, you need to set up Kali and make it all work and do all the right things. And he came back with a shopping list of, I need these, I need this, I need a separate internet connection, I need to be able to do this. And I went, okay, yeah, we'll sign off on that.
Yeah,
and now he writes his own scripts and does all the things that need to be done.
Wow.
Because he can see, and the good thing about it is we keep him separate from what we do as well.
Yeah.
So we do a test. He comes back and says, you've forgotten to do this, you've forgotten to do this, this is too tight, it doesn't need to be that tight. And we then go send the other guys back in and go, yeah, do that, undo that. And it means that we know that the systems are a lot more secure than if we had just one set of eyes looking at it.
Yeah. So to summarise how to test your defences, simplistically, get another pair of eyes from outside of the organisation in a different location.
Yeah, preferably.
To try and with something similar.
You need someone who's going to think like a criminal.
Yeah, yeah.
And you've got to remember, if you've got data, if you've got access to finances, if you've got trademarks, if you've got even just your technology, all of that really becomes a big target for how you look at your digital security itself.
So your human resources is located down the back street of a dark alley, only open at night.
Yeah,
yes.
When they hide under the desk. They're like cockroaches.
Yes. Oh, good stuff. Yeah. All right. So in your opinion, then who's winning? The good guys or the bad guys?
No, the bad guys are winning. The thing about digital security is you've got to look at it as it's going to happen to me.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do everything that you can possibly do. You can be the most secure organisation in the world, but you just got a new receptionist who doesn't understand the security components of your business. That person then becomes your weakest link. And the moment you've got a weak link, then you've got a problem. And it's then your responsibility as a business to, okay, we've got an induction process that comes in. These are the things that we need people to know from day one. This is where HR is. This is why we do things with passwords. This is why it's got to be secure on Facebook, and the processes behind why you need to be able to say to people, don't post anything to do with the business on your Facebook page, or don't post things that are part of our trademark on the business page. And that's really important when you step back from the business and think, how are we going to protect ourselves?
So I guess, like, even though that you rely on, like your web hosting, like,
Yes.
like whatever, like you're relying on that they're secure and they're following all the procedures, and which I guess they are. Like, how do you make sure? Like, you just have to have that trust, don't you?
Well, that's right. And once again, it's a case of getting someone else to have a look at your website security, because they will test not only your website, but they will test the cPanel component and the underlying system.
Yeah, right.
Because it's their responsibility. And if they can get into the underlying system, there might be 30 websites on that system, and you need to do something about it.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter how secure your website is and how locked down it is and how big the passwords are and everything else. If they can drive in at the bottom and come in literally through the back door, then you've got a problem. Best idea is move it.
Yeah. So as far as web servers go to host your web page, what you would recommend, just like a managed server, or would you recommend your own server in the data center?
I would recommend, in today's world, I would recommend a managed server and a web hosting company that is reputable.
Yeah.
And your reputation on the internet is critical, especially in the IT industry anyway.
Yeah.
If you've got and we've been having a running gun battle with one of our web hosting companies, because we know how unsecure they are.
Yes.
So we're quite happily starting to move all of our clients' websites off them and onto someone that we can trust.
Trust, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And do you find it's the bigger ones, the bigger names, are the more trustworthy?
Yes and no, but it's also the same with. It depends on how much they're focused on security as well. If you're on a server that's been around for, let's say, 6 months, fine. But if it's been around for 6 years, then you need to look at something that's a lot more modern.
Yeah, it doesn't stop, does it? You've just got to be updating stuff and hardware and all the time. It's a very expensive business.
That's right.
Very expensive. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that might bring us to the conclusion of this episode, which is
Thank
great.
You.
Yeah. So, things we learned. Kali Linux. If you ever want to get into it and see just for testing your own security, of course.
Yep.
But if you want to do it yourself, KALI, Linux.
Yep. But the other thing about Kali is if you don't know Linux, you're going to have a problem. If you don't know coding, you're going to have a problem. And this is where people who actually use this for the penetration tests actually come into their own, because they do know how the system works. They do know the attack weapons that they're going to use, and that makes it a lot more beneficial for you as a client. Okay, yes, they've tested our system, and you can tick the box, because hey, people like us aren't going to miss things.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned this the other week or whatever, but I had a payment through to me, and I flagged. I thought, that doesn't look right, and it was a PayPal fraud. So it came. I received the money. It came from someone's account, but the person who signed up, it was a different name. And it was also from somewhere in America, which was unusual.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, this isn't right. Someone's hacked this PayPal account, and it turned out to be that's what happened.
Yep.
Yeah. So even I suppose PayPal is not immune.
No, but I think you'll probably find that there was a bad password in the way as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's usually the fail safe. If you look at it deep enough, and one of the things that when I'm doing presenting is we go through a number of large organisations that have been hacked in the last 12 months, and you can actually pick out where they've gone wrong.
Yeah, right.
Because they all have I suppose a constant that they haven't got a secure password, or someone forgot to change the default password, or they have too many administrators, which is one of the biggest problems we got. Everybody wants to be an administrator.
Yes.
No, wrong. Or the other one is administrators with email accounts. There should be no need for an administrator to have an email account.
Right. All right. Okay.
And if they have, because they're going to log on as administrator, they're going to open the account as administrator. If they do get a piece of malware that's going to work, it's going to hit the system as an administrator account. Bad way to do it.
Now, do you find, just quickly before we do go, do you find that most of the work that comes your way is more reactive rather than proactive, or vice versa?
Digital security is reactive anyway. It has to be, because we don't know what the bad guys are going to do. We don't know what the next exploit is going to be. We don't know what the next spam component is going to be. So we have to react. But there are a lot of things that proactively you can do that makes that reaction a lot smaller.
Yeah.
As I said, if you're changing passwords, you're removing admins, this type of thing is going to make it reactive still, but you're doing proactive stuff.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, the best thing is to be proactive, isn't it? That's as much as you can.
Definitely.
As much as you can.
Think like a bad guy.
Yes, that's right. Well, don't forget the March 8th at 12 o'clock. Canberra time, which is daylight saving time, East Coast Australia, is when you can find the next Lunch and Learn with Roger. Email him for a link, and you'll be up and away learning and lunching.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
All right, good stuff. Now, that's it. You can contact Roger through the Twitter at SME Security, or me at Aussie Tech Heads, and that's good stuff. Thanks, Roger, for another great episode of Enlightenment.
Thank you, Glenn. Much appreciated.
All right, and we'll see you guys. Thanks for downloading. We'll see you guys next time as well. Bye-bye for now. Ta-da.